Welcome back to a brand new Rams House video. Thank you so much for stopping through to the channel and showing some love to the channel. If you could hit that like button and that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it because it does help out the channel in the long run. And let me know what you think of this final 53-man roster. Before we get into this, I just want to say Corey Bojorquez was traded to the Green Bay Packers when the Rams gave up a 7th round pick, Corey Bojorquez, and they received a 6th round pick. So Hecker's here to stay. Also, let me know what you think of that down below. But to start off in the quarterback group, we kept Matthew Stafford, obviously John Wolford, and we did keep Bryce Perkins. For me, I'm a huge Perkins fan, and he really did play his heart out in preseason, so I'm very glad he was able to earn that spot for us on this Rams team. I'm glad that our quarterback group is actually looking very strong, and if injuries were to happen to Matthew Stafford, I'm very confident in the group that we have in this team. So that's our quarterback group. At the running back group, we have Darrell Henderson Jr., Sony Michel, and Jake Funk. And this is kind of complicated because Xavier Jones had an injury in preseason, and so he's not on the roster, but the Rams are confident they can bring him back after that injury is done. So yeah, I like Darrell Henderson Jr. and Sony Michel. That's going to be a good complementing run game. We know the Rams like Jake Funk, and that run game, as long as we can hold up and withstand any more injuries, I think it's looking pretty strong for us. At wide receiver, we have Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson, Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell, and Ben Skoranek. Overall, an elite in a very strong group. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, very strong. Obviously, they complement each other. Deshaun Jackson, Tutu bring that speed. Van Jefferson is a good route runner, has the quick footwork. A lot of people, kind of forget about him. And Ben Skoranek, a guy who I was wondering if he would make the team, but it seems like the Rams really like what he brings to the table. At tight ends, we have Tyler Higbee, Johnny Munt, Brycen Hopkins, and Jacob Harris. So another very deep group. I was wondering if we were going to cut a guy like Johnny Munt or Brycen Hopkins because we brought in Jacob Harris and kind of converted him to a tight end / wide receiver hybrid. And so I was wondering if we were going to cut Johnny Munt or keep Brycen Hopkins, what we were going to do. But we have our 4 tight ends, another very strong group, and I cannot wait to see, how the Rams use them this season. It's a very strong group, and it definitely has a lot of depth. At offensive line, we have Andrew Whitworth, David Edwards, Brian Allen, Austin Corbett, Rob Havenstein, Joseph Noteboom, Bobby Evans, Tremaine Ingram Jr., and Alaric Jackson. Another strong group. Hopefully, they can come and step up to the task after losing Austin Blythe this offseason. And I think this is an overall really strong group. I was wondering if Tremaine Ingram would make it and Alaric Jackson. I know they provide some depth. To me, I felt like Ingram kind of had a lot of flags in preseason and wasn't protecting the best. But obviously, I don't think they're going to be asking him to be a starter come week 1. So glad that these guys get to keep their jobs. And it's a overall very solid group at offensive line. Defensive line, we have A'Shawn Robinson, Aaron Donald, Sebastian Joseph Day, Greg Gaines, Michael Hoyt, Jonah Williams, and Bobby Brown III. Another very strong, very deep group. I mean, obviously, whenever you have Aaron Donald, it's going to look like a very, very strong group. But yeah, I think that this group has a lot of depth in it. Obviously, A'Shawn Robinson's coming up on his contract year with us, and he has slimmed down a lot. We'll see what he can do. Very excited for Sebastian Joseph Day. I was wondering, Greg Gaines is kind of a guy who can come in there and fill in. He hasn't done a ton at the Rams, but he was able to make it. Michael Hoyt made some big plays last preseason game, and Jonah Williams, I'm glad that those guys made it. Obviously, Bobby Brown III, our draft pick, he made it as well. So very strong group. Outside linebackers, we have 5. Leonard Floyd, Justin Hollins, Ogbo, Terrell Lewis, and Chris Garrett. Now, I'm very, very happy with this. I was kind of surprised, honestly. I was wondering what was going to happen with Ogbo and Terrell Lewis because of the injuries. I'm guessing the Rams are giving Terrell maybe 1 more year because he's just been injured so much of the time, and they're kind of having to handle his workload. And Ogbo has kind of been dealing with some injuries in the recent season. So then I was really wondering what they were going to do with him. And so, I was kind of surprised they kept both of those, but definitely a deep group with, who's going to be competing on the other side of Leonard Floyd. And Chris Garrett has looked good. We'll see if he can make it past Ogbo and Terrell Lewis, but I know Justin Hollins is also a guy the Rams are very high on, so we'll see what happens there. Inside linebacker, we have Troy Reeder, Kenny Young, Trayvon Howard, and Ernest Jones. Very, very strong group. Kenny Young, Troy Reeder saw a ton of playing time last year. I think Kenny Young can make another big step in his game this year. He did last year. Troy Reeder with more playing time, I think he can just continue to get better. Trayvon Howard I'm very excited for because he brings that coverage aspect to the game, and he was injured all last year, so I cannot wait to see what he can do coming into this season. And Ernest Jones, our draft pick, making it. So that shows you that I'm pretty sure Micah Kaiser got cut because it doesn't show him on this roster. Let me know if there's some sort of injury, any complication, because that can sometimes be the case, but I believe Micah Kaiser did not make the roster. At cornerbacks, we have 4, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Williams, David Long Jr., and Robert Rochelle. Very, very strong group. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Williams, an amazing cornerback duo. David Long Jr., a guy it seems like the Rams really like. We'll see what he can do this year. And Robert Rochelle, a guy who has an incredibly high ceiling to me. The only thing that can affect this group to me is injuries and kind of offset them because we only got 4 guys there. We'll see what happens. Obviously, we have the practice squad and everything like that. We'll see what happens this year, but very strong group. Safeties, we have Taylor Rapp, Nick Scott, Terrell Burgess, Jordan Fuller, J.R. Reed, and Juju Hughes. J.R. Reed and Juju Hughes are guys who also showed out pretty well in this preseason. I believe that went a long way into making their roster. They also had a great camp. Can't wait to see, I hope we don't have to see those guys because that would probably mean some injuries. Then Taylor Rapp, Nick Scott, Terrell Burgess, Jordan Fuller are guys that I expect to see a lot this season. Not sure how much we'll see Taylor Rapp. I kind of feel like his job will be overtaken by one of our safeties, but, we'll see what happens going into the season. At specialists, we have Matt Gay. Matthew Orzek is our long snapper. Johnny Ecker did make this team. It's just because he's on COVID injured reserve that he is not on here. That is your 53-man roster, guys. Let me know what you think down below. I appreciate you staying through the video, showing some love to this channel. If you do like Rams content, I would appreciate it if you can drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and as always, horns up and God bless.